Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the 5 writing habits that changed my life, aka helped my writing the most. If you go on to enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe because that really supports my channel by telling the YouTube algorithm that you liked my video and that somebody else might too. The lighting is really weird today. It's super cloudy out, so I hope it's okay. We're not filming at my normal desk location, which is over there, because currently my desk is up against my window because for the next 10 days in Utah it's going to be super cloudy, so I need as much natural light as I can possibly get. Which means that this video is coming to you from my couch. The first habit is to leave my documents pulled up on my computer when I shut it before I go to bed. This way, in the morning when I open my computer, my documents are staring at me. I'm an evening writer. I write best at night, but I've noticed that even being an evening writer, I feel like I can get more done in the evening if I did at least a little bit first thing in the morning before my brain fully wakes up to tell me not to do it, or to try to talk me out of writing. If I'm still half asleep, as long as I can focus on the page, I feel like the earlier in the day that I start writing, my inhibitions haven't lowered. And I don't think that that's actually a word, but whatever the opposite of inhibitions is. I also like doing a little bit of writing in the mornings because that means when I return to my writing later in the day, again, even if it was 10 or 15 minutes in the morning, then my brain has been refreshed and can kind of subconsciously be thinking about it until I sit down at my desk again in the evening to try and do some of my more serious or longer writing sessions. The second writing habit is to stop writing before you've run out of the ideas in your head. That means starting a writing session a couple paragraphs from the end of what you've thought through, and then you can always write yourself a reminder in parentheses or something so that you don't forget the gist. But I found this really helpful in fighting the blank page syndrome, where you sit down to write and you're just staring at a blank page and you don't know what to do. So giving yourself a little bit of a head start the next time you sit down to write by leaving yourself a little bit more of your idea will help you move into your next writing session more seamlessly, and hopefully in the time between that writing session and the next, your brain will continue working on your story idea so that you have ideas beyond that parentheses section, but it just accelerates your writing for the next day or next writing session or whatever. There's a quote from Hemingway that says, "The best way is always to stop when you are going good and when you know what will happen next. If you do that every day, you will never be stuck." And then Roald Dahl said something similar. "I never came back to a blank page. I always finished about halfway through. Hemingway taught me the finest trick. When you are going good, don't stop writing. You don't go on writing and writing until you come to the end of it, because when you do, then you say, well, where am I going to go next? You make yourself stop and walk away, and you can't wait to get back because you know what you want to say next." So leaving a little bit of that idea and desire will help you return to the page for your next writing session. Writing habit number 3 is to utilize writing sprints and productive breaks. The gist of a writing sprint is sitting down for a set amount of time, whether that's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes if you're really pushing it, and you sit down and you write for that dedicated amount of time. I really like using writing sprints because it focuses more on the time that you put into your writing as opposed to the output of the word count that you get when you're done. Because even if you're having an off day, you sit down for, we'll say, 30 minutes, and even if you stare at the page for half of that time, you were showing up, you were doing the work, and your brain was still picking away at the story, even if it doesn't feel like you made a ton of progress. At least visual progress on the page. Which, this is a caveat that I wasn't going to put into this video, but as far as visual progress goes, I highly recommend writing in different colored fonts, or a different font than you normally work in. I know that this is sacrilege to some people, but I write in Comic Sans when I'm drafting, just because then it doesn't look as serious as something that you find in the newspaper or in a published book. It just has a more lighthearted feeling to it and feels more like a rough draft than having to be perfect the first go around. If you have not tried that, I highly recommend it. So then between writing breaks, I like to do something called productive breaks, especially if I'm writing at home. If I'm writing in a coffee shop or a bookstore, it's a lot harder to do. But if I'm writing at home, I also feel like I have a shorter attention span, which is partly why writing sprints work so well for me, especially when I'm writing at home, is because it helps me focus more very specifically for a certain amount of time. And then for my productive break, I stand up from my desk and I go do something that doesn't require a whole lot of brain energy while I'm still using my hands so that my brain can spend that time working on whatever idea I was writing, so that 15 or 20 minutes later, after I've done my dishes or after I've started a load of laundry or something like that around my apartment, I can sit back down to do another writing sprint, but my brain has had that time to work on my story a little bit more subconsciously. Also, during my productive breaks, I really like listening to my writing playlists, because every book I write has a writing playlist, and some of my specific scenes have specific songs that I play to go with them. But because I can't listen to music when I write because I find it too distracting, I like to listen to the music during my productive breaks and when I'm getting ready for but have not yet sat down to write. Writing habit number 4 is to minimize your distractions. This could be telling telling your family or roommates that you'll be writing, or putting headphones on if noise is unavoidable. It could mean turning off your Wi-Fi or your email notifications, silencing your phone or leaving it in a different room altogether. When I find myself pulling out my phone when I'm supposed to be writing, if I am sitting at my desk, I will just chuck my phone onto my couch, just like as far as I possibly can, just so that it's out of reaching distance. Because if I can't reach it, I'm not gonna physically stand up to go get it. So it just has to be far enough gone that I can avoid checking it while I'm doing my writing sprint. Something else that I think is a lot of fun to do is to set up a time lapse aimed at your computer screen while you're writing, or if you're writing by hand, you can aim it at the piece of paper or your notebook, and then you just record yourself writing for that set amount of time, which then just helps you like see again that visual progress, see how much you were able to write and see like the words flying across the page or the screen. Some people use, I believe it's called the Forest app, which is an app on your phone that you can set for a certain amount of time that does a cute little plant growing animation. So if you make it to the end of that time, then you get to keep this little plant, and if you swipe out of the Forest app, then that plant dies, which just gamifies it a little bit, but it could help you stay off your phone. Another way to help minimize distractions is to write outside of the home. If you can, I understand that this is a lot harder for some people, especially on a frequent basis. So maybe this is like a special occasion, like a weekend, you go write for an hour or two somewhere. As much as I love writing at coffee shops, I really like writing at bookstores and libraries because I don't feel like I have to purchase something in order to be sitting there. Writing habit number 5 is to keep doing the work and to keep showing up even when inspiration doesn't. I found a list of quotes that I wanted to share with you guys. These are all from James Clear's website. E.B. White says, "A writer who waits for ideal conditions under which to work will die without putting a word on paper." Haruki Murakami has a quote that says, "The repetition itself becomes the important thing." Henry Miller has a quote that says, "When you can't create, you can work." Jodi Picoult has one of my favorite writing quotes that says, "You can't edit a blank page," which then goes back to that visual progress and making your rough draft a little bit more lighthearted, using a different font than Times New Roman or Arial, and using different colors to mark your different writing sessions. And this quote is not on the list, but there's a quote by Isabel Allende that says, "Show up, show up, show up, and after a while the muse shows up too." While inspiration is great and wonderful, the habit of writing and cultivating the habit and showing up for your story day after day is what is actually going to get it written. Let me know which of these writing habits was your favorite down in the comments below, or let me know what some of the game-changing habits you discovered are. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Sara Lubratt, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.